Sorry. I'm joking. I need a drink of water. Hi, 100X. Hold on. See who's on here. I'm sitting outside because it's absolutely gorgeous here today in Virginia. It was like a spring day earlier, and now it's just beautiful. So today is, and we just went and got our free tropical smoothie for National Flip Flop Day. I've got my flip flops on. Woot woot. Wow, they're sandals. But anyways, all right. So day 19, but I thought I'd sit outside, but I'm choking from the smoothie for some reason. Day 19 of my God stories. Hello, it's Lori West, for those of you who I have not met. So I wanted to talk about as God guides, God as a guide, and finding Wendy Elizabeth. So if you haven't seen my testimony, my story about how we came about adopting, a hard time seeing with these, how we came about adopting our daughter Wendy, who is from Guatemala. Check out that video. I forget which day it is. I'll have to go back and look. And but I want to tell you another part of her adoption story. So after we felt like the Lord told us that we had a daughter in Guatemala, we were on a hunt. I felt like I needed a detective to find my daughter because I felt like my daughter had suddenly gone missing. God truly just dropped her down into my heart. And I felt like I was missing a child. It was crazy. So, of course, we're like, well, where do we even start? What adoption agency do we go with? There's a lot of them that did Guatemalan adoptions at that time. And I was doing a lot of praying, doing a lot of research, and we had some friends in our church who were on the board of an adoption agency group out in Kentucky. Hey, Evan. And so they got us in touch with the guy who was the head of it. And we talked with him on the phone, and we told him, we said, we know our daughter is between 2 and 3 years of age, and that she does not have a mom or a dad, so she's truly an orphan, and she's not a relinquished baby, because a lot of adoptions from Guatemala at the time were babies that moms were relinquishing because they couldn't afford to have a child, etc. And so we talked with him, and he said, well, we don't really do the abandoned cases because that abandonment process is a lot longer. It's lengthy. It can go on for years. And so we really just do the relinquishments. However, I just sent my vice president, or the second guy in command, down to Guatemala to check out a couple orphanages but that we're thinking of working with. And I would be willing to work with you if you go on their websites, and he gave me the names of the orphanages, and you check them out. If you see any little girls on there, let me know if you're interested. And so I checked out the two websites. One was Casa Bernabé, and the other one was, I think, Prince of Peace, or I forget the name of the other one. And so I checked them out, and I ended up finding this one little girl. There's lots of cute little girls, but there's this one. She looked like she was around 2 years of age, and she had a very American name. Her name was Wendy Elizabeth. And I thought, oh, that's funny. My middle name's Elizabeth. My mom's middle name's Elizabeth. My daughter's middle name's Elizabeth. My great-grandma's first name's Elizabeth. We have a lot of Elizabeths in our name. And Wendy just was a very American name. It was very strange. And she was the cutest thing ever. Oh my gosh. So I printed her picture up. Not that I didn't know if she was available for adoption or not, because some of the kids on there weren't. And I had taken that picture to my MOPS group, my Mothers of Preschoolers group that I was a part of, and I was showing them, telling them we were going to adopt from Guatemala, and they saw the picture. They said, oh, is that your little girl? I said, no. I said, that's just one of the girls from the website. She was just so cute, and I would love to adopt a little girl like her. And I kind of just had that in the back of my head, just this little cute little Wendy Elizabeth girl. So we were with that adoption agency, excuse me, and we put in our application, and we had to put in an application for the actual orphanage, to the actual orphanage. So we put in an application to Casa Bernabé, but I purposely did not put down any of the kids that I was interested, because I truly wanted God to lead us and guide us to our daughter. Excuse me, that smoothie is doing a number on my throat. And so we didn't hear anything from the orphanage. A month went by, 2 months went by, 3 months went by. My adoption agency was frustrated. They're like, yeah, this is kind of how it is down there. They don't tend to respond to calls. They take forever to respond back, and we'll keep trying, we'll keep trying. Well, we never did hear back from the orphanage. which was very odd. Well, I think they had heard back from her initially, but then not at all later. And so they sent us some other referrals, and no, that's not our daughter. No, that's not our daughter. And then they sent us a referral of a little girl who was 6 years old. And I knew my daughter was between 2 and 3 years of age, and that she didn't have a mom or dad. Here's a little 6-year-old girl. Now my husband was like, I think this is our daughter. And I prayed and prayed, and I said, I honestly don't think this is our daughter. This little girl was actually with another agency in Kentucky. And as I was praying, I felt like almost like we were supposed to say yes to this girl, switch agencies, which would be unheard of, that if this adoption agency would let us get out of our contract or whatever and switch over to this other agency. And that, excuse me, this little girl was the door to get us to this other agency, which would then find us our daughter. That was the sense that I got in my spirit, which was really weird. Well, my husband was like, no, this is our daughter. I'm like, I don't think it's our daughter, but we'll go with it. So we switched agencies. We left our first agency. We switched to this new agency. And as soon as we got to the new agency, and we've been in contact with the director of that agency, she said, I've been doing some more praying about this little girl and I don't think she's your daughter. Honestly, I just kind of feel like she was kind of like a door to get you guys over here to find your daughter. Something to that effect. It was very similar verbiage to what I had been sensing in my spirit. And I said, I 100% agree. And she didn't feel comfortable in recommending this girl to us, just kind of based on some of her history and some things that were, going on and knowing our family dynamics. So we declined that little girl. And this new agency director went on the hunt for us, and we kept saying our daughter is 2 or 3 years old. She does not have our mom or dad. We do not want a relinquishment. So she ended up giving us another referral of a little girl, cute. She had curly hair like I'd kind of envisioned. She was between two and 3, and she I think was abandoned. And we were so excited that this might be our little girl. And a week or 2 went by, and then we found out, no, she can't be your little girl, because she's actually in the adoption process for somebody else, and it got stalled, and then somebody got nervous and put her up for adoption. It just is a long, crazy story. But she was so much on my heart. I mean, I bawled over this little girl. Her name was Juliana, and or Anna Julia. And I'll tell you why I get confused with that all the time. It's Juliana. And I just was heartbroken because I didn't know what was going to happen to her. And I kind of followed her for a little bit. I had someone who knew where she was, the foster parents' house that she was at and stuff. And she was not able to be adopted because her adoptive parents kind of pulled out, but it was too late in the process. And it's a long story. Anyway, she wasn't going to be adoptable anymore, unfortunately, which is so sad. And so our adoption agency director was still looking. Now it's been probably, maybe 9 months. And I'm about ready to have a garage sale to raise money for our adoption. And I'm like, God, this was like on Thursday. And I said, God, I am getting ready for this garage sale. I would love to have a picture of who my daughter is, who we're raising money for this garage sale. I need to know by tomorrow so that I can print up a picture. We're having the garage sale on Saturday. So this was late Thursday night. By Friday morning, I woke up. I need to know who my daughter is. I need to know today, God, who my daughter is. I got a little bossy with my daddy. Well, by noon, I get this phone call from my director, and she said, I finally reached out to this one orphanage we've worked with a while back, and I called the director and said, hey, we have this family, Jeremy and Lori, and they're looking for a little girl who's between 2 and 3 years of age that is abandoned. Wanted to know if you had anything like that. And the director of the orphanage says, oh, yes, I've been praying for that couple and this one little girl. And my director's like, wait a minute. No, you probably are misunderstanding. I've never told you about this couple before. They're Jeremy and Lori. They're from Virginia. Da, da, da. She's like, yeah, that's the couple. And I've been praying about this match for them for probably about 6 to 8 months. She's like, wait, how do you have their information? And she's like, I have their application. Well, it was Casa Bernabé. It was the same orphanage that we had applied to through the other agency, that now this agency had actually worked with Casa Bernabé in the past. And I think actually the director has a child or two from Casa Bernabé. And so the agency director was like, yeah, I've been praying for 6 months about this one little girl for Mr. and Mrs. West. And her name is Wendy. And I went, Wendy Elizabeth? And my director's like, I guess I don't think there's a whole lot of Wendy's down there. And I was floored. So I had her send me a picture. And of course, it was that same little girl that I had picked out all those months prior, that she had just captured my attention with her big round eyes and her big luscious lips and her cute little pigtails and her little wisp of a curl. Go watch the video on how I talk about that. And so we said, yes, 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 that is our daughter. So I had my picture to print up, her picture to print up at the garage sale. We had a garage sale, very successful garage sale, to help raise money for her adoption. Well, several months went by. All the lawyer needed to do was go and pick up her abandonment paperwork, which was all finished at the courthouse. And he didn't do anything for about 3 months. And my agency director kept getting nervous. And she finally was like, do you want me to find another referral? I can find something else for you. And I said, no. I said, I'm going to send you a picture to prove to you this is our daughter. And that's where I talked about in the last video how my friend had drawn a prophetic picture months before on a card, had given us some money for our adoption, and it was this cute little girl that looked nothing Hispanic or Guatemalan. Had little pigtails, big round eyes, big luscious lips, little wisp of hair curl here that when she drew it, she just kept feeling like, this is so stupid. Why am I drawing this? She would erase it, and then she'd draw it back, and then she'd erase it. And she kept feeling like God said, no, draw it. And oh my gosh, that picture is the spitting image of the picture we got from Wendy. And even Wendy, when she came home, she was 3.5 when we brought her home. When she came home, I showed her the picture and I said, who's that? She goes, that's Wendy. That's Wendy. So Wendy Elizabeth joined us when she was 3.5 years of age. She did not have a mom or a dad. The rest of her adoption took about 9 months, which our agency director was shocked because with abandonment cases, it could take years sometimes. And she would have come home sooner had that one lawyer been on the ball, but he wasn't. We ended up switching lawyers, which ended up being a good thing because we got a discount. Then this new lawyer didn't charge us as much. So God knew. He knew who our daughter was going to be. And I prayed so much during that adoption process. I said, God, we need a little girl who is tender enough and sweet enough to get along with everybody, but strong enough to know who she is. Because her sister is a very much a leader. Future CEO in the making, we say, instead of strong-willed. Future leader in the making, and she had 3 brothers that she was coming into, and so she needed to be strong, but yet sweet, and that is exactly who she is. She has carried the love of God since she was a little baby. She used to just sit in the back of the car and just look. I'm like, what are you doing, Wendy? I'm just thinking about God's love and how much he loves me. She'd have prophetic dreams. She'd have dreams that were straight out of Revelations. This girl carries the heart and love of God like nobody's business, and she's an amazing hugger. And personality-wise, she is probably more like me than my biological kids. I might get a future nurse in the making as well, too, from her. We'll see. But anyways, I just wanted to share that even though that adoption journey was 18 months long, and I was on so many forums, and I cannot tell you the amount of fear that is in those forums, of people just worrying. My lawyer's not going through. I don't know how long this is going to take. And they're asking for more money, and they're frustrated, and they're worried, and they're frustrated. And I could walk through that whole process, even though it didn't happen as fast as I wanted. I could walk through that whole process with peace. Even when my agency director was kind of freaking out a little bit, not freaking out, but she was getting worried, I could walk through it with peace because I knew what the Lord had told us. We knew that our daughter was between 2 and 3, that she had no mom or dad, that she truly was an abandonment case. We knew that God called us to adopt. We knew that she was coming home. We had that prophetic picture proving this was our daughter. And so all those things pointed to the fact that she would come home to us. We didn't know the exact timing, but she would come home so we could walk in peace. And I didn't have to get sucked into the fear that so many people on the forum, they were so frustrated. They were so angry. They were like, it was ridiculous. But we could walk through it in peace and trust that God said it, so he's going to do it. And we're going to walk with him and figure out how to do this along the way. Things don't just always fall into our lap and magically happen. We do have to put some sweat equity into it, and we have to creatively think of strategies and, for the finances and partner with God in that. And I had to fill out tons of paperwork and go to tons of notaries and all sorts of things. But in the end, I could still walk through that process with peace and trust that God said, he meant what he said, and he was going to bring her home. And I'm forever forever grateful for her. I would have gone on to adopt several more. I would have loved to have had a very multicultural family if I could have. We had a Chinese son. I called him my Chinese son. We had a Chinese boy living with us for a year, his junior year of high school. So he was my Chinese son, at least for a little while on loan. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll adopt some more. I have to stay off the foster care and adoption websites because I just want to end up adopting all these 17-year-olds who are going to be aging out and don't have a mom or dad. It just breaks my heart. I want everybody to have a Christmas, someplace to go for Christmas and Thanksgiving and their birthdays and Easter and, you know, someplace to call home. Everybody needs that. So if God's putting it on your heart to adopt, go for it, man. Go for it. If it's God's idea, if it's his will, it's his bill. And I always hated when people say, oh yeah, adoption's great. We would totally adopt, but you know, it's just so expensive. And then they would drive away in their $35,000 minivan. Really? You know, we put our money where our priority is. And so I just want to challenge any of you that it's maybe been niggling at your heart or mind about adopting, either from the foster care system or from overseas. Pray about it, you know, because God can provide. Follow where he leads, partner with him, follow the Prince of Peace, and you can't go wrong with that. It doesn't mean the journey's easy. Doesn't mean it's easy. I've got lots of friends with crazy adoption stories that I could tell you. Oh, back to Juliana. Let me tell you why. So I got to finish that story. So we had that referral of Juliana, and about a month later, my adoption agency director called me and said, hey, I've got this other girl. She's not from Guatemala. She's from El Salvador, and just didn't know if you were interested. She's about 2 or 3. Her name is Ana Julia, or Juliana. One of the two. And I said, our daughter's in Guatemala, but you know what? Give me that information because maybe I'm supposed to connect her with somebody. And so I went and looked at her information and was like, no, she's not our daughter. I definitely knew that she wasn't. And then I was talking to a friend of mine who was adopting from China at the time. And I was telling her, oh, I got this this information about a little girl from El Salvador. And she had the same reaction that I did to Guatemala. She went, oh, El Salvador, oh, that I've always wanted to adopt from there. That's where we want to adopt next. But right now we're still in the process of adopting from China. Well, about a week later, she calls me, maybe 3 days later, and she says, what's the name of your agency director? I need her information. And they ended up, it's a long story, it's a crazy story, and they really had to fight and contend. There's a lot of spiritual warfare in getting her home. But in the end, God brought her home, but they ended up adopting her. So I just love how God brings connection. And had I had my referral of Wendy sooner, I wouldn't have gotten that referral, and that little girl wouldn't have ended up with this amazing, amazing family. So sometimes even in the delay, God is doing something. He has reasons. And then that original little girl, Juliana, Ana Julia, she ended up out of all the orphanages in Guatemala, she ended up at the same orphanage that Wendy had been at. And so a couple years later, one of my friends says, hey, check out Casa Bernabé's website and see who you see. And sure enough, she was there. And so we got to be her sponsor for about a year and a half before they ended up finding some of her family that she could go live with. So that just tickled me pink. And I have more God stories in and around Wendy's adoption, but I'm going to stop it for now. I guess everybody's out enjoying the beautiful Friday evening here. Well, it's evening here in Virginia. So God bless you guys, and may God just lead and guide you. Just listen for the whisper of the nudges of where he's leading you and guiding you. And sometimes it's not that booming voice in our ear, but it's just the little nudges, the thoughts, the random thoughts that just pop into my head, of looking at that website and going, oh, that little girl's kind of cute. Oh, look at that, she has the same name as me. That he would just lead you and guide you, and always to follow peace, follow the Prince of Peace. You can't go wrong when doing that. So God bless you guys, love you, and I will talk to you tomorrow for day 20 tomorrow. We are on the home stretch. All right, bye.